explodes and goes up into the air. Do you think it's going to take 10 seconds? Do you think it's going to take 30 seconds? Or do you think it's going to take a minute? I want you to put your guess in the poll right now. That way you can share your answer with me and, of course, all of our friends watching. I want you to give it a guess. Now, it's okay if you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes as scientists, it's okay not to know things, but we use what we know to try something new. Ooh, this is going to be exciting. So we have our vote for 30 seconds. We vote for a minute. Ooh, this is going to be close. All right, my friends. So it is like a perfect 50-50 split. Half of you think 30 seconds, half of you think a minute. That's okay. As scientists, it's okay if we disagree on things. We make our best guess, that is our hypothesis, and then we put it to the test to learn something new. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to jump back into the lab to see what happens with Rick and that little tiny piece of dry ice. If we're excited to see what happens, give me a thumbs up like this. I want to see what happens. Here we go. All right, Rick, show us what's happened. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Now let's see what happens.
Let's do it. Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that. It's sublimate. Wow. Isn't that awesome?
So cool.
I love it. All right. Now I'm going to put the lid on top.
Let's see how long it takes. Here we go.
Now, oh my God!
Did you see that?
Wow! That was awesome! Whoa! Whoa! Wow!
That's incredible.
That was amazing! When we put the lid on top, we trapped the gas inside. The gas kept expanding, trying to find space, which in turn built up pressure inside of the film canister, which made it pop up into the air. And that's what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw something flying over their heads.
Thanks, Rick.
They didn't see what flew overhead, but Beth had an idea. Maybe that was the evil Ice Sorceress. But Henry laughed. That's just an old story people tell to scare their kids. She's not real.
Now what would you do? A, would you run home? Or B, would you follow it into the forest?
Think about what you would do, my friends. Now let's see what Henry and Beth decide. Into the forest they go.
Come on, let's go see what it was. Henry grabbed Beth by the arm and together they ran towards the forest. Meanwhile, high atop the castle tower, someone was watching them. It's those two pesky kids. They're heading into the forest. I'll stop them. The guard raced down the long hall, jumped onto his horse, and rode to the edge of the forest. Right there, far in the distance, running through the trees, he spotted Henry and Beth. The guards started to chase them. Henry and Beth started to run. They were fast, but the guard's horse was faster.
Henry and Beth need our help. Put your hands up and be like the trees in the forest.
All right, arms up, everyone.
He got closer and closer. The hoofbeats got louder and louder. He rode alongside them. Just as he reached out, about to grab them, they dove off the path and disappeared from sight.
All right, arms down.
He looked right. Then he looked left.
Don't say anything.
The guards saw something. But it wasn't Henry and Beth. It wasn't a person at all. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. He felt very cold. Something wasn't right. He turned and rode off in the other direction. It was filling the entire forest. Henry and Beth peeked out from behind the old tree they were hiding behind. The guard was gone.
Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth saw something in the forest. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. That's right. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Do you remember what it's called when a solid turns into a gas? Sublimation. Right here, I have a graduated cylinder filled with water. I'm going to add dry ice to that water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, my friends, we're going to make another hypothesis or guess together, okay? Now, when Rick takes that dry ice and puts it into the tube, it should change from a solid into a gas through sublimation. But how big do you think that cloud's going to get? Do you think that it's going to fill the tube halfway? Do you think that's going to fill the tube all the way? Or do you think that will go over the top of the tube? So will it go halfway, all the way, or over the top of the tube? I want you to put your guess into the poll. That way you can share it with me and share your hypothesis with all your friends watching. This is a tricky one. Halfway, all the way, or over the top? Ooh, this is a close one. So, my friends, we have a couple votes for halfway and a couple votes for all the way. Now, as scientists, it is okay not to agree. It's okay to have different hypotheses than another scientist. That's all right. As a scientist, we take our guess, we put it to the test, and we learn something new. So we're going to go into the lab to see what happens with that cloud. Is it going to fill the tube halfway, all the way, or is it going to go over the top? All right. Rick, show us what's going to happen, buddy. Here we go. Excited? Let's see.
All right. It's time to test out our theory. Let's see what happens.
Oh, that's a nice big...
When we put the dry ice into water, the water makes the dry ice heat up and sublimate even faster. That allows us to see all the gas, just like a fog or a cloud. That's right. We can actually, pour it in our hands. Look at that. Whoa.
Cloud is.
We can even pour it in our lab coats. I can even pour it on you.
Me. Oh, okay, whoa. Whoa, okay, whoa. Oh,
And this is what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw the mysterious white fog.
heck trick.
The guard was gone, but that's when they saw it. Right there, the fog. It was coming towards them.
What would you do? Would you A, stay in the foggy forest? Or would you B, warn the king?
Think about what you would do. Let's see what Henry and Beth decide.
Quickly, Henry and Beth ran back towards the castle to warn the king. Henry and Beth ran fast as they could. They saw the castle in the distance. Finally, they made it out of the forest. But they were too late.
Oh, she's real?
Right there, standing in front of the castle, they saw her. It was the evil Ice Sorceress. Suddenly, the trumpets blared. The castle gates blew open. And the knights marched out.
Don't worry, we'll save them.
But nobody could have known what was going to happen next. The evil Ice Sorceress stomped her feet.
That's not good.
She clapped her hands.
That's not good.
She snapped her fingers. With a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down from the sky. When the bubbles popped, they released ice-cold fog that froze the night solid.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute!
Thanks, Rick.
In the story, the evil Ice Sorceress stomps her feet. She claps her hands and she snaps her fingers. That's right. When she does, she makes bubbles of fog. We're going to do an experiment to show you exactly what that looked like. Right here, I have a flask. In my flask is water. Now we're going to add a chemical to this water. Soap. We're going to add a piece of dry ice to the soapy filled water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time for our scientific guess, also known as a hypothesis. Oh.
All right, my friends, we're going to make another hypothesis. When Rick takes that dry ice and puts it into the soapy water, do you think we're going to get some bubbles? Yeah? But wait, what kind of bubbles do you think we're going to get? Do you think we're going to get one big bubble? Or do you think we're going to get a bunch of tiny bubbles? Will it be one big bubble or a bunch of tiny bubbles? Put your guess, your hypothesis in the poll. That way you can share it with me and all of your friends. Oh. Ooh, this is a close one. My friends, it's about 50-50, and that's okay. Now, my friends, I think it'd be really cool if we had one giant bubble that filled the entire laboratory, but I think it'd be really cool if we had a bunch of little bubbles. Now, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know it's going to be pretty cool. Let's jump back into the lab and see what kind of bubbles we make with that dry ice and that soapy water. Here we go.
Oh. Okay. All right. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Here we go. There's the soap. All right. Now it's time to add the dry ice. Here we go. Whoa! Oh my gosh! Look at that!
It's a bunch of tiny.
Oh, you can see the fog inside of the bubbles.
That's great.
The dry ice supplemented. It turned from a solid into a gas. The gas is filling up the soap. And that's why we're getting so many bubbles. Lots and lots of bubbles. This is really cool. When the bubbles pop, you can see the fog inside of them escape. It's really cool. And this is what it looked like when the evil Ice Sorceress made bubbles of fog.
Thanks, Rick.
But it wasn't the nights that she wanted. Right there, she found who she was looking for.
The king.
Slowly, she walked towards the king. She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. And with a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released a giant bubble of fog. The bubble popped, releasing an ice-cold fog that froze the king solid. Then, ever so slowly, the evil Ice Sorceress turned around and looked out into the distance. With a flash of her icy blue eyes, she caught Henry and Beth watching her.
No. Henry, Beth, get out of there.
They started to run. They arrived at a sign with two locations, Fiery Mountains or Frozen Swamp.
What would you do? Would you A, run to the fiery mountains, or would you B, head to the frozen swamp?
Think about what you would do, my friends. See what Henry and Beth decide. Fiery mountain.
Henry and Beth reached the base of the Fiery Mountains. There it was said the dragons lived. A dragon was Henry and Beth's only hope to stop the evil Ice Sorceress. They climbed up, up, and up, the narrow rocky path winding their way higher and higher into the mountains. With every step they took, they felt the ground getting warmer beneath their feet. As they got closer, they saw it was the opening to a cave.
What would you do? Would you A, keep climbing, or B, go into the cave?
Where they go? Into the cave. Beth doesn't look too sure about that.
With whatever courage they had left, Henry and Beth stepped inside of the cave. At once they heard a deafening roar. They looked up. They couldn't believe their eyes. They were standing face to face with a dragon.
children in my mountain cave. What are you doing here?
Okay, everybody, Henry and Beth needs our help again, okay? On 3, yell, the evil Ice Sorceress is back, okay? You ready?
Here we go.
1, 2, 3. The evil Ice Sorceress!
Back.
Roar! My fire should be able to melt her.
The dragon flew up in the air. Henry and Beth felt the powerful wind in their face and hair.
Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon. That's right. While they were flying through the air, they felt how strong the wind was. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that was like. Now, what's all around us that we need to breathe? Air. Now, is air a solid, a liquid, or a gas? That's right. Air is made out of tiny little particles, too small for us to see. But if we can't see it, how do we know it exists? Because we can feel it. We can also see the effects that it has on other objects. Right here, I have a leaf blower. The leaf blower sucks air through this end and shoots it out at 140 miles an hour. Oh my goodness, that was amazing!
That was silly.
I wonder if I can find something else in the lab to use it on.
Toilet paper?
Let's try the leaf blower with this toilet paper. What do you think is going to happen? It's time for us to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, my friends, let's make another hypothesis together. What do you think is going to happen when that leaf blower puts its air out and it touches the toilet paper? What do you think is going to happen to the toilet paper? Do you think that the toilet paper might fly through the air? Do you think it'll just go onto the ground? Or do you think it might explode into 1,000,000 billion pieces? Okay, maybe that last one is a little messy, but what do you think is going to happen? Will it fly through the air? Will it fall on the ground? Or will it explode? This is a tough one. As cool as I think it would be to have it explode, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I might be wrong. All right, my friends. So a bunch of us think that it's going to fly through the air. That's a pretty good hypothesis. That air is moving very, very fast. It has a lot of energy. And when it touches the toilet paper, it might be able to give some of that energy away. All right, my friends. Oh, wait. I know a lot of you have a question in your head right now. Why does science teller Rick have toilet paper and a leaf blower in his laboratory? The answer is, I don't know. But I do know what you're about to see is one of my favorite experiments. So let's jump back into the lab to test our guess, our hypothesis, and find out what happens. Here we go. All right, Rick, show us what's going to happen. Here we go.
All right, now it's time to test out our theory. moving air has lots of energy. When the energy comes into contact with another object, like the toilet paper, it makes the toilet paper fly through the air. And that's what it looked like when Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon.
That was awesome, Rick. Thank you so much.
Flying through the air, the dragon saw the entire kingdom below. The castle was completely frozen in ice. Right there stood the evil Ice Sorceress. She was watching. The dragon landed in front of the castle and put Henry and Beth down.
I'll be right back.
The dragon took a deep breath and released a blast of fire.
Not even fire can melt me.
Oh no.
She stomped her feet.
That's not good.
She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. And with a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down on Henry and Beth. Just when they thought all hope was lost, Henry and Beth heard a sound. The dragon spread its wings wide apart and covered Henry and Beth like a giant umbrella. The bubbles popped, releasing their ice-cold fog that froze the dragon solid. Then the evil Ice Sorceress rose up into the air and started flying towards them.
What would you do? Would you A, face the evil sorceress? Or would you B, find a place to hide?
Now, my friends, this is an important moment. The dragon was supposed to save the day. That was Henry and Beth's big plan. So do you think they should face the sorceress? Or should they run and hide and come up with a new plan? Think about what you would do. Now, let's take a look and see what Henry and Beth decide. Will they face the sorceress, or will they hide and come up with a new plan? Let's find out.
Henry and Beth started to run. Henry and Beth saw an open window in the castle. They jumped inside. Down, down, down to the cold castle cellar. Everything in the cellar was completely frozen in ice, except for one thing: an old wooden barrel.
What's inside?
They opened the barrel. It was filled with salt. As they climbed inside the barrel, some salt spilled out onto the ground, and it started to melt the ice. Just then, someone kicked the door in.
I can see you. Come out of that barrel.
She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers. The evil Ice Sorceress started to wave her hand.
But before the evil Ice Sorceress could flick her wrist, Henry and Beth had an idea. They reached their hands inside of the barrel, grabbed a handful of salt, and on 3, 1, 2, 3, they threw it at her.
All at once, the salt began to work. The evil Ice Sorceress broke out in a cold sweat, and she watched as the salt melted through her icy skin. With one final shriek, the evil Ice Sorceress exploded into millions of tiny water droplets that fell like rain. And just like that, the evil Ice Sorceress was gone. This time, for good.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In this story, Henry and Beth melted the evil Ice Sorceress with salt. She exploded into millions of ice droplets. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Okay, everyone, do like this.
Hands out.
Okay, do it again. We breathe out CO2 or carbon dioxide. That's the same thing that dry ice is made out of. Dry ice is just the solid form of carbon dioxide. Inside this cartridge is carbon dioxide gas. When we open up this end, carbon dioxide escapes very, very fast. I'm gonna attach it to this tube. And what's inside of this tube? Nothing right now. We're gonna put water inside of the tube. We're going to pull this lever and release the carbon dioxide gas. Now, what do you think's gonna happen? It's time for our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
All right, my friends, we're going to make another hypothesis together. What do you think is going to happen with the water that's inside that tube? Do you think that it will freeze? Do you think that's going to turn into a gas? Or do you think it's going to shoot out of the tube and fall down like rain? What do you think is going to happen? Will it freeze? Will it turn into a gas? Or will it fall down like rain? I want you to make your best guess now. Ooh, this is a close one. So we have two different groups. We have our group that thinks the water will freeze, and then we have the group that thinks it will fall down like rain. And both of those are good hypotheses. Remember, it's okay if we're not right. When we go and test our hypothesis, we'll learn something new. And that's what science is all about. It's about learning new things. Now, my friends, we're going to jump back into the lab. We're going to see what happens with that water. And I need your help because we're going to do a countdown from 10. So get ready. All right, here we go. Let's find out what happens with that water. Now, if it freezes, that'll be hard to get out of the tube. But if it falls from the sky like rain, well, I know science teller Rick. Oh no, I don't think he has an umbrella in the laboratory. Okay, let's jump back into the lab to find out what happens. Here we go.
Okay, well, let's see what's gonna happen.
Here we go.
Now, let's count down from 10.
Fingers up, here we
Are
go.
you ready? Let's do it. 10,
9, 8, 7,
6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh!
Fell down like rain and got Rick's
Oh!
wet. It's your fault.
Oops. And that's what it looked like when the evil Ice Sorceress exploded into thousands of little tiny droplets of water.
Henry and Beth got right to work. They dragged the barrel outside the castle, lifted it high over their heads, and dumped salt all over the dragon. All they could do now was wait. And wait.
It's working.
And the salt began to melt the ice. The dragon started to move. It flapped its giant wings and flew into the air. Flying over the kingdom, the dragon saw everything still covered in ice. It took a deep breath and released a blast of fire. As the ice melted and the kingdom thawed out, a huge cloud of fog formed over the land.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! At the end of the story, the dragon took a deep breath and let out a blast of fire. That's right. The fire melted all the ice and left a big cloud of fog. This is an experiment to show you what that looked like. right here, I have a bucket filled with hot water. Right here, I have dry ice. What do you think is going to happen when I put the dry ice inside of the bucket of hot water? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a I almost said the word hypothesis. Oh!
All right, my friends, we have to make one last hypothesis for our story together. What do you think is going to happen when Rick takes that dry ice and puts it into the bucket with the warm water? Do you think that the dry ice will do nothing? Do you think that it will sublimate and turn into a cloud? Or do you think the water will freeze? Will it do nothing? Will it turn into a cloud? Or will it freeze the water? What do you think is going to happen? Put your guess into the poll. That way you can share your hypothesis with me and all your friends. So nothing, turn into a cloud, freeze. All right, my friends, it is split between it will sublimate or it will freeze the water. Now, both of those are really good hypotheses. We know dry ice is 109 degrees below zero. That's very, very cold. But we also know that it wants to change into a gas. So let's jump back into the lab to see what happens with our dry ice. Now, after that, we'll hear the conclusion or end of our story. After our story's done, don't go anywhere, because I have a bonus science experiment that I want to teach you, and it uses stuff that you have at home. That way you can do science with your grown-up. And if you have any questions about the science or the story that you heard today, I'll be here to answer a few of your questions. Let's jump back into the lab and see what happens with that giant bucket of dry ice. Here we go.
Wow!
Sorry.
Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I need your help counting down.
Here we go. Fingers up.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Whoa! The ice is sublimating very fast because it's in hot water. Oh, this is awesome! Whoa, 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 whoa. This is super cool! It's sublimating at such a high rate. And that's exactly what it looked like when the kingdom started to thaw out again.
Thank you, Rick.
The dragon waved goodbye to Henry and Beth and headed back to her home in the mountains. Everything returned to normal.
Suddenly, someone called for Henry and Beth. It was the king. Then they remembered that they were in trouble for sneaking around the castle. The king called for them again. This time, there was nowhere to hide.
No.
Henry, Beth, I've been looking everywhere for you. Because of what you did, our kingdom is safe. All hail Henry and Beth, and your dragon friend too. And from now on, you are allowed to sneak around the castle whenever you'd like.
Good job.
And that concludes Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. Did you have a good time?
My friends, if you had a good time, give me a thumbs up like this. Did you like our story? I love our story. It is one of my favorites to tell. And the kingdom, of course, the kingdom is safe. Henry and Beth saved the day. The dragon is okay. The Ice Sorceress is gone. Now, my friends, we learned a lot of really cool science today. But I need your help to remember a few things before I teach you that science experiment. Do you think you can help me? Yeah? All right. Now, my friends, we learned a lot about dry ice, but can you remind me, dry ice is the solid form of something. Is it hydrogen peroxide, H2O2? Is it solid carbon dioxide, H2O? Or is it sodium chloride, NaCl? Which one of those things is dry ice? Hydrogen peroxide, carbon dioxide, or sodium chloride? Do you remember which one it is? Let me know. Answer the poll. That way you can remind me. Ooh, my friends, you got it. Excellent. Dry ice is the solid form of CO2, carbon dioxide, the same gas that we breathe in. Or I'm sorry, the same gas that we breathe out. Now, my friends, we learned that dry ice is cold, but how cold is it? Is it 0 degrees? Is it negative 32 degrees? Or is it negative 109 degrees below zero? I want you to put your answer. How cold is dry ice? 0 degrees, negative 32, or negative 109 degrees? Give it a guess. You've got it. All right, my friends, that's right. Dry ice is a negative 109 degrees below zero. That's why Rick had to wear the special gloves on his hands. He didn't want to freeze his fingertips. My friends, last question, and you've got this one. What takes up more space, my friends? A solid, a liquid, or a gas? What takes up the most space? A solid, a liquid, or a gas? What takes up the most space? My friends, you are on fire. Don't worry, we will put you out later. You've got it, my friends. Gases take up the most space because they expand, they push out in every direction. Now, my friends, we're going to do some science that you can do at home, but before we do anything, we have to thank very important people. Our people and our librarians and all of the staff over at the Ringwood Library. They're the ones who make shows like this possible for you all. So, big round of applause for all of our librarians. My friends, if you want to thank your librarians, look at your cameras, give a big smile, big thumbs up, because we appreciate all of our staff over there at the library. Now, my friends, if you're going to do science at home, you need something. You need a parent, an adult, or a grown up. That's right. Your grown up will help you get everything you need for this experiment. Right now, your grown up is the person in your house that looks a little bit tired. Okay? That person will help you get everything you need. Now, this is all stuff that you might have in your house. I'll go through everything you need, and then after the show is done, you can give this a try for yourself. The first thing you need is a cup or a glass or a bowl. I'm going to use this cup right here. The next thing you need is water. I have some water in our water bottle here. Tap water is fine. The next thing you need, because our story had an ice sorceress, you're of course going to need some ice cubes. So we'll be using some tiny ice cubes there. We're also going to be using a chemical that we learned about in the show, and that chemical is table salt, some sodium chloride. That's what NaCl stands for. And the last thing we need, my friends, is a piece of string. I'm going to be using this string. This is kitchen twine or baling twine. It's just a piece of string. It's actually made up of tiny little pieces of string all spun together. But once you have all of those things, you'll be ready to do your science experiment at home. And to make sure you know exactly what's going on, we're going to go to our science camera, okay? Now, my friends, this is everything you're going to need. We have our cup, our water, our salt, and our string, and our ice. We're going to take our ice and fill up our cup or bowl about halfway. There we go. Now, once that's filled up about halfway, you're going to take your water and fill up the cup about halfway as well. I'll put that right there so you can see it. Now, tap water is fine for this. You don't need bottled water. Tap water is a-okay. Some people do ask about that. Good. All right. And our ice cubes can swirl around inside of our cup just fine. The next step we're going to use our piece of string, and we're going to dunk that string into the water to get it nice and wet. Once our string is nice and wet, we're going to take it out of the water. Now, I'm going to lay the string on top of the ice that's inside the cup, and I'm going to go in a spiral pattern so it fits inside. So we'll go around in a big circle like this. We'll start over here, and we'll go over here. And I'm just making sure that that string is touching the ice cubes, because that's very important. There we go. We'll go like that, and like that. Wow, all right. That looks perfect, my friends. Now, the last step is the salt. We're going to take that and sprinkle that on top of the cup, on top of the string. Go back and forth like that. Perfect. And I need to let that set for about a minute. And while that's sitting down, my friends, we get to make a hypothesis, one last hypothesis together. What do you think is going to happen to everything inside the cup? The string, the salt, the ice? Do you think the ice cubes are going to sink down to the bottom of the cup? Do you think that the ice cube and the string are going to stick together and be frozen together? Or do you think that string will break and snap into pieces? What do you think is going to happen? I'll put up your poll, your last poll of the show, so you can pick out what will happen. Will the string, will it sink, will it stick, or will it snap? I want you to make your choice. Now, this is a difficult one, but I want you to make a guess. Use all of the knowledge we have and make your best hypothesis you can. Very good. So my friends, we have a unified hypothesis that the string and the cubes will stick together. Now, my friends, we're going to go back to our science cam to find out exactly what happened. Here we go. All right, we have our cup. Everything looks the same. It looks like the ice cubes aren't at the bottom. They're still on top, and the string's still on top. Let's carefully pull the string and see what happens. Here we go. Whoa, 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 look at that. Not only is the string stuck to the ice cubes froze together in a great big iceberg. Whoa. My friends, let's talk about why that worked. That worked because of a very special chemical. The chemical we used was salt. Salt can melt ice. In our story, Henry and Beth used the salt to help melt the Ice Sorceress. In our experiment, the salt melted the ice, and the string that was sitting on top of the ice sunk down inside of our ice cubes. And when everything froze, they got stuck together. Now, my friends, it's also why we put salt on the roads in the wintertime when they're icy. It helps melt the ice. That way the roads are safe to drive on. So my friends, if you do the science experiment at home, of course, you can share it with your librarians over at the Ringwood Library, or you can share it with science tellers using the hashtag #ScienceTellers. The grown-ups can help you with that. But my friends, I told you at the very beginning, before we started, that there is a secret place, well, not so secret place, where you can learn almost anything you want to in the entire world. Do you want to know where that place is? Give me a thumbs up if you want to know what that place is. Okay, so the coolest thing, that place is your library. Your library has tons of amazing books and resources, and you can learn anything you want to. There are books on science experiments and dragons and sorceresses, but there are books on aliens, games you can play, adventures you can take, and the cool thing is you get to take those things home for free. All you need is your library card. If you don't have one, I bet you know a grown-up who has one. And if they don't have one, have them talk to our amazing librarians. They will help them get set up with one. Now, your library has tons of amazing resources, and today is actually a very, very special day for your library because you all can start setting up appointments to do curbside pickup and that kind of thing. So you can check out books again, but there's also amazing resources online. You can check out ebooks and audiobooks and all sorts of stuff with your grown-ups, of course. But my friends, I have a question for you. If you are signed up for summer reading, can you give me a thumbs up like this? Yeah? Oh, my friend Matthew signed up. Very nice. My friends, Summer reading is going on, and it's online this year. So the more books you read, the more things you learn, the more minutes and more books you can log. And I hear your library is giving out some cool prizes. So not only will you learn a whole bunch of smart things, you also might be able to win a prize or two. But you have to make sure you're signed up for summer reading. And if you're not, or don't know if you are, talk to your grown-up. They'll help you out. And of course, for our grown-ups watching, you can always talk to our librarians. They are here to help you. Okay, my friends, sadly, we're almost out of time for today. I had so much fun sharing our show with you, sharing all the science with you. My friends, if you have a question about any of the science or the stories that you heard today, or want to share your favorite parts of the story, you can hold your hand up like this to your screen, to your camera. That way I can see you, and then you can share your favorite part with me or ask your question. All right? Let's see if anybody has questions or wants to share their favorite part. My friends, do you want to share your favorite part? Oh, I see you right there. All right. I'm going to bring you up on the big screen. Hi, my friend. How are you? Let me ask you to unmute yourself. That way I can hear you. Where are you? There you are. Hi. Nice to see you both. Did we like our story? Yeah? Do you have a question or do you want to share your favorite part?
Brave part.
What was your favorite part, buddy?
That king.
The king? I like the king had really nice eyebrows and a really cool mustache. He was really cool. But he forgave Henry and Beth, and they can sneak around the castle whenever they want now. That's pretty cool. Excellent. I saw another hand up. I think that was my friend Matthew. Did you have a question, Matthew? Yeah, or let me do that. Oh.
Unmute.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Matthew, how are you?
Good.
Good. Did you have a question or did you want to share your favorite part of the story?
We share the favorite part of the story because my favorite part is when they dump the cell on the
And the dragon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it great? Like Henry and Beth, they had to come up with a new plan, right? Because the knights were supposed to save the day, and the Ice Sorceress stopped them, and the dragon was supposed to save the day, and the Ice Sorceress stopped the dragon. So it was up to Henry and Beth. They had to use their own smarts, and they had to come up with a plan to defeat the sorceress, and they did, and they saved the entire kingdom. Because, my friends, just because you are little does not mean you cannot do great things. You may have to try a little harder, and you may have to think differently, but if you set your mind to something, you can do anything you want to. In Henry and Beth's case, they saved an entire kingdom just by working together and counting on each other and working on their smarts and trying something new. So that's a very good lesson for us all to take away from it. All right, I'm going to check for any more hands or questions. I'm not seeing any. So my friends, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to turn it back over to your librarians so that way they can say goodbye. And I want to thank you so much. My name's Conrad from Science Tellers. I hope you all have fun this summer. I hope you read a lot and sign up for summer reading. And if you try out that experiment, you can share it with Science Tellers. We'd like to see that kind of thing because I love to see the science that you do at home. All right. And to my wonderful, wonderful librarians, they are all yours. So back to you.
Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks for
Bye.
everyone coming.
Thank you.
Bye,
all.
Izzy and Connor and Matthew.
Bye.
Hope to
See
see
you
you soon.
later. See you later, alligator.
See you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile. Excellent. My friends, wave goodbye to your friends. Wave goodbye to your librarians. And to our fantastic librarians, thank you again so much. And we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.